Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Thursday, October 1st. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Got the Chiefs crew in today. Sam McDowell, Vahe, Gregorian, Herbie Teope, and Sam Mellinger are here to talk about Sunday's home game against the Patriots and how different this team operates with Cam Newton instead of Tom Brady at quarterback. So plenty of Chiefs talk, which started as a SportsBeat Live program. Plus, in honor of NASCAR releasing its 2021 schedule and Kansas Speedway maintaining 2 races next year, you'll hear each of the A-team's first or worst car. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to SportsBeat Live. Welcome to October. It's starting to feel like fall a little bit out there today. We're here to talk Chiefs. They got the Patriots on Sunday. They're coming off a resounding win over the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk all about that with the usual suspects. Herbie Teope is here. Good morning, Herbie.
Good morning. I'm only here for the candy corn segment. That's it. The candy corn segment.
Okay, so we'll talk to you in about 30 minutes. Vahe Gregorian is here. What's up, Vahe?
Claire, I'm very stream of consciousness today. So you say the usual suspects, I think Casablanca.
There you go. Round them up. Round them up.
We're here.
Sam Mellinger is here. What's up, Sam?
No, man, I don't have a witty comment right now. I'm sorry.
Well, what good are you then? What good are you? Sam McDowell, what's going on, man?
I'm really excited that Herbie's only going to speak during the candy corn segment.
Well, I tell you, the best part about that, it gives me 30 minutes to come up with a candy corn segment today. I didn't have one. So while you guys are chatting Chiefs, I'll be working furiously to come up. Maybe our readers, audience folks can come up with a good candy corn question for us today. I've got a couple in mind. So, all right, Chiefs, Patriots. Let's start where we always do. Herbie, let's take us through the injuries. Some good news, bad news, as it always seems to be for the Chiefs, especially when we're talking about the secondary. Tell us about it.
Well, as our esteemed colleague Sam McDowell reported on Wednesday, they're down rookie cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, who is on injured reserve with a fractured collarbone. He's probably going to be a short-term injured reserve type deal, and we're going to see how that goes. But the good news is Charvarius Ward is back to a full practice after being limited last week, and they also get Bashaud Breeland back after Week 4's game. Chris Jones was limited in practice on Wednesday with a groin injury, but that's a good sign that 2 days after suffering the groin injury, he was able to practice. So that's good. Alex Okafor is back to practice. He hasn't practiced since suffering a hamstring injury in the season opener. And the rest of all their players came back, and they're practicing fully. The big one, obviously, is Andrew Wiley, their starting right guard, who was inactive Monday night against the Ravens with a stomach illness. He's back to a full practice, so he's probably going to be all systems go.
Well, it just seems like, especially with the cornerbacks, when the Chiefs get one back, they lose one, as was the case with Charvarius Ward, who almost had an interception, got his hand on the ball against the Ravens. And then Sneed goes out diving. I think it was on the play where he was diving for an interception attempt with a broken clavicle. So it looks like the Chiefs are. So with the secondary injuries, I was looking at the player participation, the snap counts from Monday night's win over the Ravens, and saw where the safeties. The Chiefs played safeties in big numbers, right? They had Juan Thornhill and Tyrann Mathieu, each with 56 defensive snaps. That's how many the Chiefs had in that game. Daniel Sorensen with 46 and Tedrick Thompson with 20. So it looks like the Chiefs made the adjustment with their shorthanded cornerback group by playing safeties more often. Did you guys notice that?
Well, the good news is you've got safeties there who can also double down against the slot. Tyrann Mathieu can play cornerback. Tedrick Thompson can play all 3 positions back there, cornerback, strong safety, and free safety. So you're probably going to end up seeing a lot more 3 safety looks because as of right now, the only healthy cornerbacks they have are Ward, Bo Peep Keys, Antonio Hamilton. Obviously, we know L'Jarius Sneed is out, but they also have 2 cornerbacks on the practice squad they could probably pull up if needed. But I think you're probably going to end up seeing a little bit more 3 safety looks against the Patriots.
And Rashad Fenton as well.
Rashad Fenton, that's who I was forgetting.
Pro Football Focus had 39 of Tyrann Mathieu's 56 snaps at slot corner. When he's on the field, they kind of feel like he's a corner. I mean, that's where he works out a lot during practice, training camp, all that stuff. So, and he can do the job. Like, that's not an emergency fill-in. I mean, he's a stud there too.
Chiefs are managing pretty well with this. It seems to me, and they certainly did the job on Monday night, holding their third straight opponent to 20 points. Now, that was a little bit of the Ravens came into the game averaging 35.5, and it was just such a great defensive effort by the Chiefs. We spent a lot of time talking about how well Patrick Mahomes played, and I think may have been his best game as a Chief in the regular season. I mean, executing the game plan flawlessly. I just thought he was fantastic. But for the Chiefs to hold the Ravens to about 225 or so total yards, and Lamar Jackson to less than 100 passing, what a complete game effort, by the offense and defense. Special teams, of course, had their issues, but that was a 34-20 outcome that didn't feel like it was that close.
Blair, if you had said that after Lamar Jackson's 30-yard run on like the third play from scrimmage, if you had said the Ravens are going to finish with one offensive touchdown, I would have said no way. I mean, it looked like they were going to really create problems. I mean, I knew it wouldn't be that easy, right? But it sure made you think they had some inclinations, some notions of ways to get at the Chiefs that they never really did after that.
They tightened it up, right? It got to 27-20 in the second half. Although the Ravens never had the ball with a chance to tie the game. The Chiefs as soon as the Ravens made it 27-20, the Chiefs responded with the score. So, okay, let's spin it forward and talk about this Sunday's game against the New England Patriots. Sam, Mellinger, I got a chuckle this morning out of a tweet that on your timeline. It seems like the NFL Network thinks the Chiefs are just big bad wolf now, the NFL, and the Patriots have to save the NFL with a victory this weekend.
Wasn't it? I had no way to react other than like hilarity. Like, we live, like, everything this year is screwed up, right? Like, nothing makes sense in the year 2020. And now we have somebody like on a league-owned network talking about the Patriots are the plucky underdog that America needs to believe in itself. And the franchise that gave us Lynn Elliott is just this fire-breathing dragon that needs to be stopped at all costs. Like, guys, what world are we in right now?
Man, team wins a Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, America just hates this team, I guess. I don't know.
And is that a thing, by the way? I know people have been talking about that, but I don't feel like the Chiefs have achieved that kind of status quite yet. I mean, like, we're in Kansas City, obviously. Like, our perspective is a little bit different. But, I mean, just nationally, are they hated already?
This could
one
be
Super Bowl in 50 years.
This could be completely thrown off because they're my friends, right? But after almost every Chiefs game, I hear from friends in Philadelphia area where I grew up and some friends I have in California that I grew up with, and they love the Chiefs. I mean, they loved watching the Chiefs against the 49ers, and they were 49ers fans. So that's an incredibly small sample size, but I don't – my perception from things like that is that this is such a fun team to watch that hatred's not really coming that way. They may feel like, well, they're so good that, for the balance of the NFL, somebody's got to knock them off. Okay. But I don't feel like there's a lot of, animosity towards the Chiefs just now, but you guys may have way different viewpoints on that.
Yeah. My view is just like you talk about, like, how much fun they are to watch. And, I feel like if I lived in some other part of the country, that I would think of this team the way that I thought of the Warriors, at least before, like, Kevin Durant's heel turn. Like, when they were just up and down the floor and shooting 40-footers and, just having a blast and, like, changing the way that teams play. I feel like that the Chiefs have some of that in them. And I don't know, man. Like, I just didn't know that the heel turn came already. Like, I don't know what like, – really, you can't win one Super Bowl in 50 years now without, like, people hating you. It's crazy.
Remember 2 years ago when the Patriots came in and tried to play the underdog role and it just didn't make sense at all. Julian Edelman had like that T-shirt campaign and everything.
What was that? Yeah. The bet against us.
Bet against us. And like it just didn't make any sense at all at that time. You know what? Actually, to speak on that, the Patriots are the biggest underdogs this week in that they've been in 17 years in a football game. Since 2003, they have not been a 7.5 point underdog.
Without Tom Brady. They were a big underdog the year that he was sitting out a suspension in one of those early games, but not like this. This is I wonder if Edelman will wear that T-shirt under his pads this week. Bet against us.
Well, you'd be betting 7.5 points as well, though. So he doesn't take that into account.
Right. Okay. Well, let's look at this game and what's at stake. I mean, one thing when we talked about the Ravens game, we were obviously comparing quarterbacks, the previous two MVPs. We talked about the kickers, Butker and Tucker, and the two best in the of all time in terms of accuracy. I think when my first thought about Patriots Chiefs is what coaching matchup, right? Number one and number two in active coaches and career victories with Belichick, and the last two Super Bowl winning coaches, last two Super Bowl winning teams going at it on Sunday. Interesting recent series between Chiefs and Patriots. They played 6 times with Andy Reid as the coach of the Chiefs, and they've split those games with the Patriots winning the two important ones, the two playoff games after the 15 season, and then the AFC title game for the 18 season at Arrowhead. But could you describe it as a passing of the torch from the Patriots to the Chiefs? Are we there as have the Chiefs done enough to accept a torch? I mean, or is it just a short term thing? And what are we looking at here?
Just a quick thought, Blair. I mean, quite obviously, if there is anything like that going on here, it has to include a Chiefs win this week, right? And maybe in some weird way, that's the canvas that this game is being played against. But I think they're in the process of making a case that this torch has been passed, right? I mean, it's just sort of interesting. Like, look at since Tom Brady met with Patrick Mahomes after the AFC Championship game, right? You could, if you wanted to get fancy, you could think of that as a moment that, some mystical thing started happening here. And off go the Chiefs last year. Patriots weren't quite what they had been. And now it just looks like a different world, as Sam pointed out earlier, tilted by 2020 circumstances. So if this is what's happening, that gives this game a little extra heft.
To me, the passing of the torch occurred last December when the Chiefs marched up there into Boston, or Foxborough, and beat them when Bashaw Breeland had that last-second knockaway in the end zone. That's when the torch was passed, in my opinion, because that allowed the Chiefs to gain that momentum. And, hey, that we knocked the bully, we got the bully off the block there, and now we're on our way to the Super Bowl. With Tom Brady no longer there, the torch is passed, and that's the way I look at it.
I thought it was interesting after the Ravens game when Mahomes met the media, or was it? Maybe it was the Wednesday press conference. I can't remember because they happened so close together. But at one point this past week, Mahomes was asked about his comparing him to Lamar Jackson. Of course, Jackson is 0-3 now against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes said he felt the same thing. Going up against the Patriots and Tom Brady, and then he finally won. Well, it's just it seemed to me that when we have talked about those types of things in the past, we've done so in years of competition, right? I mean, Sam, you had the note in the column last week that Mahomes and Jackson were the youngest MVPs to face off against each other. I mean, by a long shot, right? The only two under the age 30. To have won MVPs and to square off against each other, but is there enough of a body of work between between Mahomes and for Mahomes to say that having lost his first 2 games to Tom Brady and then beating Tom Brady in the in the regular season last year was enough to elevate him past Brady. And I guess it's a long-winded way of saying I don't. Patrick Mahomes is second to none as far as I'm concerned right now, and
Yeah, but when you wear the ring, right? When you were wearing the ring, that matters a lot. It would be better for these rivalries if the Ravens would have won on Monday. Because now it is, like you said, it's 3-0. That can change quickly if it becomes 3-1 and the Ravens win a playoff game, which is entirely possible. But as far as like just looking at this game specifically on Sunday, when the schedule came out, and you see the Patriots, and I remember thinking, it's not going to be the same, like Brady's not there, whatever. But in some ways, they're more dangerous with this guy at quarterback, with the way that he can run. And, he's not Brady in a lot of ways, but Brady's not him in a lot of ways either. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Patriots, I think the one coach in the league who's better than Andy Reid, who's had a bigger body of work than Andy Reid, how he schemes up these blocking schemes that they've got to create some space for Cam and Burkhead and all those guys. I just think it's a really interesting matchup, and in some ways more interesting than if Brady was still a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean he's not Brady, but he's also to me better than what the 2019 version of Brady. Obviously, doesn't have the career that Brady has, but Tom Brady wasn't good for the Patriots last year, and Cam Newton brings a different element. He brings a different element even than what they saw last week in Lamar Jackson, even though Juan Thornhill told us yesterday they prepare for him the same because it's just the threat of running the ball. But to me, I think that the Patriots are maybe finally going to be that team that sticks to a strategy that we all think could potentially beat the Chiefs, and that's just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. We saw him do it 2 years ago in the AFC Championship, despite having a pretty good version of Tom Brady at that point. But especially with Cam Newton now, I think this Patriots team is more dangerous than what I anticipated going into the season that they would be. And I think that they're more dangerous than other people are giving them credit for just because Brady's now in Tampa Bay.
Totally agree.
And I also think, just to pivot off that real quick, I think the Patriots, as you noted from that last example, Sam, they'll have the discipline to stay with the running game if they get down 7 or 10, right? They won't just throw everything to the wind because they got down in a way that I think is part of what you need to be able to hang on and compete with the Chiefs.
I agree.
And Herbie, you can speak to this. What the Patriots have done after losing, players on the defensive side, they easily had the best defense in the NFL last year. They were on a record pace at midseason, as I recall, and still finished with one of a terrific defense that I think led the NFL in several categories. But then they lose players to transactions, and then Donta Hightower and Patrick Chung opt out for the season. I was thinking, this is going to be the Bills division with the Patriots, but they have done a decent job on not more than decent. They've been Patriot-like on the defensive side this year.
Yeah, when you hear about the next man up, that sports cliche that you hear all the time, next man up, the Patriots epitomize that, and that's because of Bill Belichick. He gets his players and they buy into what he wants them to do. So whenever, I think it was 5 or 7 players that opted out up there in New England because
it was 8.
Was it 8?
It was 8. Okay. And you mentioned Hightower, and we're not talking about your practice squad players. We're talking about starters here, and they're able to fill in there, and that's because of what they are. It's because of Bill Belichick and what he impresses upon his troops, so to speak.
I'll tell you, the Patriots are 1 yard away from being 3-0, and if obviously the Chiefs win at Baltimore last week was probably the most impressive outcome of the NFL season. But if the Patriots had found a way to get in the end zone on the final play at Seattle 2 weeks ago, man, what a great victory that would have been. And again, they lose that game by 5, and Cam Newton was stopped on the 1 yard line. And they had a one play from the 1 to get in. Newton kept it, and the Seahawks, kept him out of the end zone. So that to me is just classic Bill Belichick coaching. They stayed in that game. They played that game all the way to the end, and Newton threw for like 397 in that game. Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeat KC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. A couple other things about the Patriots. They are tied for first in the NFL in takeaways with 7. They've had defensive touchdowns in each of their last 2 games. Devin McCourty had a pick 6 in that Seattle game, and they recovered a fumble in the end zone last week against the Raiders. But the Chiefs, that Darwin Thompson fumble against the Ravens was their first turnover of the year. So the Chiefs are very, very good at protecting the ball, taking care of the ball. And, of course, as we know, Mahomes hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. So the other thing that really impresses me about New England, they lead the NFL now. They're the least penalized team in the NFL, and they have not committed an offensive penalty this season. That's pretty stout. Pretty stout. So I think we can agree that this is an offense that's better than last year's New England offense, and they haven't missed a step on defense, and yet the Chiefs are a big favorite. Did the Chiefs get too much of a regard coming off of the game in Baltimore?
It's a big number.
It is a big number.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big number. I mean, the spreads aren't necessarily like a cold calculation of what the outcome's going to be. I mean, they're trying to even up, money on each side and all that. But, it's a big number if the Patriots do what we've been talking about. If the Patriots keep it on the ground, limit the number of possessions that each team can have and that kind of thing. But on the other hand, I think that if you look at New England, you just talked about some of the personnel issues that they've had, there's a possibility that they just are not going to be able to keep up. That they can have an 8-minute drive, that ends in a field goal or a touchdown or whatever, and then the Chiefs are going to have a 52-second drive that ends with McCole Hardman in the end zone.
Yeah. Cody and Drizzy reminds us that Seattle did move the ball at will against the Patriots. They did. Russell Wilson had 5 touchdown passes in that game, also the pick 6. But 5 touchdowns. How many? That's all Russell Wilson does this year, right? Just throw 5 touchdown passes.
He's unbelievable
in a game. What a season he's having. We'll save the MVP race for maybe another week. But I believe two top candidates have emerged from that. So okay, what are we giving? Are we giving the Chiefs defense enough credit? They have. This is the first time that Steve Spagnuolo's defense will have faced Cam Newton. The last time the Chiefs faced Cam Newton was that 2016 game at Carolina, and they've played him twice in Newton's career. And Newton is 0-2 against the Chiefs. But this would be the third different defensive coordinator to confront Cam Newton. So I don't know. I'm bullish on this Chiefs defense. We've talked about it almost every week, but these guys they're stepping up. Chris Jones is playing, next to Aaron Donald as well as any interior defensive lineman in the NFL. They've made the back end work with personnel. So I guess my only concern would be short week. It's the only time this season the Chiefs will play on a short week. They're playing a well coached team, and but. I think the defense finds a way to stop Cam Newton. What do you guys think?
That was the best that the defense has played since Steve Spagnuolo was hired. I think if you consider like context and opponent, and if that's true, it's the best the defense has played in several years. Right? There's a reason that Steve Spagnuolo was hired. You mentioned Chris Jones, and he's been incredible. I think Frank Clark is playing he's at the height of his powers. Like this is what they thought when they gave up the first round pick and the big contract. I mean, what he did against Baltimore was incredible. I mean, they gave him basically an impossible assignment, right? Like contain Lamar Jackson, forget quarterback, contain one of the fastest players in the NFL. Also stop the run. And if you can, like, get some pressure on Lamar Jackson. And he did all three. He was unbelievable. And Blair, you just brought up a really smart point too about just like the secondary. They've been making that work with, being shorthanded. And, Juan Thornhill's going to have some weeks like he did on Monday against Baltimore where he was great. And he's probably still going to have a week or two coming up where it's like it was against the Chargers, where he just looks a little bit, a step off. But gosh, they're making it work. And I was expecting like a little bit of a step back from the last, 10, 11 weeks of last season where they were really good, other than the first quarter against Houston in the playoff game. But gosh, they've been even better. I think they've been really good every week.
I think they're also going to get better once Willie Gay starts inserting himself into that defense. I mean, zero defensive snaps in week 1, 6 against the Chargers, 9 against the Ravens. So there's a gradual increase as the season progresses, kind of like what we've been talking about from the very beginning. Grasp Steve Spagnuolo's scheme, and once he's inserted into that starting lineup, this defense is just going to be lights out.
Yeah.
And I thought the linebackers had a really good game against the Ravens. Wilson and Neiman, that group, I just thought, and Hitchens, I thought they played, after not playing well in Los Angeles, I thought they came back and did a good job against the Ravens. So what about I don't think there's much evidence of this, but what about a letdown factor? It was a big week, and we saw how Chiefs players, especially defensive players, reacted after the game, and they absolutely played the disrespect card using that ESPN Monday Night Countdown panel and everybody else who was picking the Ravens. And, of course, now they're a bigger favorite against the Patriots than Baltimore was against the Chiefs. I tend to think that emotional factors like this are a bigger deal in college than in the pros, but is there a possibility of a little bit of a letdown for the Chiefs?
I guess there's always that possibility, but I do think having this be a Patriots week is good for them in that regard, right? It's not like the Patriots aren't going to have their full attention. It's not like they don't respect the recent modern history of what the Patriots have been, and they've got something to prove here. It's not like they can just say, okay, we're good. I think that they've got plenty of incentive. I'm trying to remember too. I guess you can make the case against the Chargers. They were a little flat. Certainly defensively, they sort of talked about that way in hindsight. But I have found it to be pretty rare that Andy's teams don't seem motivated or ready to play. Maybe that's recency bias, but it sure seems to me like they show up virtually every week.
I agree. So Sean Schloss and Gabe Hancock have a couple of defensive questions. Sean wants to compare this defense to some of those 1990s Chiefs defenses. Those were fantastic. I think I was the only one working here in that time. But, Sam, you were following the Chiefs back then. Those are the Derek Thomas, Neil Smith defenses of the 90s. Those were terrific. But one thing that we know is that offense was not built for playoff success, as Chiefs fans painfully know. But those defenses of the 90s were fantastic.
Yeah, I'd slow down with those comparisons. Those 90s teams, they were shutting people down. And, the plan was to win a game with 17 points back then, and they're not doing that now. And, the first 3 weeks, if they get 20 points from each opponent from here on out, the Chiefs are going to win it. Pretty much.
I think that's right. Yeah, when have the Chiefs been below 20 in a game? That Colts game last year?
Yeah. I think that's the only one.
I do. I think you're right. Okay, so conversation has been stimulating enough for me to come up with a candy corn question for the group. I know they can't wait, and of course, the origin of the candy corn question. Herbie is the member of this esteemed group that favors candy corn as his favorite Halloween candy, and this is just our way of never letting him forget that.
You know what, Blair? We should have some sort of graphic that has the look on Sam's face whenever Herbie said that. Could somebody screenshot it and send it to us? That should be Neil, can you work on that?
This has Neil written all over it.
That was on Twitter, wasn't it? Somebody screenshot it and tweeted it to us. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. We'll do the candy corn question and give me a final score prediction. The question is, I guess in honor of NASCAR releasing its schedule for 2021, with 2 races back at the Kansas Speedway next year, including the fall race being later in the year, October 24th for 2021. I want to ask these guys what their first automobile was, or it's an option, or their worst automobile, first or worst car they've ever driven that was in the family, and then give us a score and how you think the game's going to go. And Herbie, you lead us off.
Oh, great. Hey, my first ever car, it was a pass down from my father to my oldest sister, and then eventually to me, was a 1976 Ford Pinto. Goodness gracious, those hatchback Pintos, if y'all can remember those. It was embarrassing to ride that thing, but you know what? It was a car, and when you're 16, 17 years old, you don't care. You just have wheels. And it was a brown Pinto. Oh, my God, man. Anyway, the final score, I'm going to go Chiefs 34, Patriots 27, so they'll win by 7.
Wow, high scoring. Okay. All right, Melly, what was your first car?
A 1978 Buick LeSabre. It was white. I loved this car. Like it's still my favorite car I've ever had. That seat, the driver's seat, is the most comfortable seat I've ever been in my life. It was my grandparents' old car. Then my sister had it, my older sister, and then I got it. By the end, it was rough. By the end, there was one time I drove to school, and I guess like the hubcap just like when I pulled into this, the hubcap just falls off and then starts rolling down.
Yeah.
Walking into the school, and this girl like comes up running back. And she's like, "Excuse me, I think this is yours." Like, and, like gave it to me. But I love that car, man. We used to go out. We had open lunch because there was way too many kids in my high school. It was overcrowded. And we had open lunch. I would take literally 8 guys, to lunch, just packed in this car. But by the end, it was in such bad shape. My mom paid $50. She paid a tow company $50 to take it away. Not selling for scraps. I'll pay you. Here's money to take this car away.
Having driven a Buick LeSabre, having had one of those in my life, those you don't park those as much as you do dock them.
Yeah, that's right. It was such a great car, though, man. I miss it.
All right, who you got on Sunday?
Chiefs. I'm picking this score intentionally just for the Patriots to cover. So 27 because it's 7.5, right? So I'll say 27-20.
Okay, Vahe.
My first car I got when I was out of college, it was a 1980 Honda Accord with 50,000 miles on it. Really liked it. But the first car I ever drove was the Gregorian family Malibu Classic. And Sam reminded me of this with that story. I once went on a blind date with an intimidatingly beautiful young lady, and we went bowling. And when we got to the bowling alley, I slammed the car into the curb, so nervous. And we got out of the car, and she couldn't talk. She was laughing so hard. And she turned to me and she said, "Don't you think you better take the car off the curb?" that stands out for some reason. Wouldn't have thought of it without Sam's story. And one last thing, too much car for me, but my favorite car really was my Saturn that I had for 17 years and gave up very reluctantly when it just kind of ground to a halt at 250,000 miles. I hated giving that thing up.
Okay, so note to self, best and worst dates for future.
The problem is that wouldn't even be the worst date. Chiefs 31-21, by the way.
Okay.
We'll have to bring Cindy specifically on the show if we do that segment.
All right, Sam Mack.
My first car was the little Tyke Fred Flintstone car. I'm surprised none of you guys had it. Probably the funniest story about my first car, because I just had a regular old Ford Ford Taurus used car. But I was so short when I was 16 that, I mean, I still get comments about how young I look, but you can imagine how young I look at 16, and people like the looks on their faces when I get out of the car, like, oh my God, this kid has stolen a car. But I was so short at 16. I think I was still like 5 foot flat, that my dad had a certain budget he wanted whenever my twin brother and I were going to look for cars. But they had to adjust that because we had to have the power seats just to get the seats high enough for me to see over the wheel when I was 16. So that's how I ended up with the Ford Taurus.
Okay. All right. Who you got winning on Sunday?
I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring just because I do think the Patriots are going to eat up some of the clock. I'm going to say like 24-17.
Okay. Very good. I'm in that neighborhood as well. So my first car, my dad, I have an older sister, and just, only about a year and a half older. So he bought a car for both of us, a new 1976 Honda Civic, and we were so happy, thrilled. We shared the car until I put it going 35 miles an hour to the back of a parked car one evening. and so after that, the next car that we shared was a 1964 Rambler. And I used to take back and forth to college, and it conked out on me about halfway. College was about 200 miles away from where I lived, and going home one weekend, it conked out. I left it on the side of Interstate 40 and got a ride home. And then as I came back Sunday afternoon, it was still sitting there on the side of Interstate 40, 100 miles from home. I just abandoned it at that point. So,
wait, got a ride home? Did you?
No. I made it to a convenience store and called someone to come pick me up because in the late 70s there were no cell phones could you pull out of your pocket and
you have to walk. You have to walk a decent amount to get to.
No, it was on an interstate. It was near an exit, so I was able to get to a convenience store. And I think actually my dad came and picked me up, and he just said, "The hell with the car," and we just left it there. So to see it here 2 days later was.
I think Blair. I think Sam still has a car on I-70 somewhere on the way to KCI.
That might be my story for best and worst dates.
Very good. All right, and I've got I'm along the Sam McDowell line. I think I've predicted 24-20 for the Chiefs because I agree with Sam. It's Bill Belichick, terrific coach. He'll scheme up a plan this week to help keep the Chiefs offense off the field. I think he believes that's the best way to stay close in this game. But in the end, there's just no preventing a Chiefs victory. So I believe that's going to do it for today. And we had a great time talking to you. Loved your questions and comments. I wish we could have gotten to more of those. Jeremy Barnes thinks the defense scores twice. I like that. And Brian LaBerge, uphill both ways. Yep, absolutely. That was my childhood. So enjoyed it. Hey, for Herbie Teope, Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, and Sam McDowell, and our producer Beth Welsh, we've really enjoyed this. And join us after the game, probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours after the game on Sunday. We will be back talking Chiefs-Patriots. Take care, you guys. Have a good day. That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Randy Mason, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to the A-team of Herbie Teope, Sam McDowell, Vahe Gregorian, and Sam Mellinger for Talking Chiefs. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, every day you hear me talk about the Sports Pass offer. $30 for a year's worth of sports coverage, including the e-edition that has so many pages you don't have time to read it all. Well, now we have an even better deal. For a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. So 2 deals on the table. The $30 a year offer still stands, and now there's a 99 cent per month offer. You can't beat that. Then there's the entire Kansas City Star product. News, sports, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these can be found at account.kansascity.com. kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down these offers, send me an email, bkerkhoff, and that's KERKHOFF, @kcstar.com, and we'll get you to the right place. Whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription or any deal, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Friday with another episode.